Hi everybody, so today I wanted to take a couple minutes out just to chat about the realities of living off-grid while still remaining online in the fullest sense of the word. The biggest thing that I have found running my own online business, the biggest challenge with the internet has been that it is a little bit slower than something you would find in the city. Because we are in a remote location, we have satellite internet. And what that means is that we are not on a 4G or 5G network. For reference, 4G or 5G network that you can find in the city is usually around 60 to 75 megabytes per second in terms of download speed and upload speed, whereas satellite internet, or the package that we have anyways, which is the highest, is around 25 megabytes per second. So that sounds like a lot. If you think about the average, it's about twice as slow as your regular internet. Given that most people have internet like that, you wouldn't really think about it. The biggest difference that I've noticed in terms of internet has been the download speed when you're video streaming. Other than that, it's not really too different. What I've done in order to remedy this, because I do run my own online business, has been to sit closer to the router. So what you see me in right now is my office. This is not where I sit when I am running meetings and doing appointments and things like that. I will sit downstairs by a router so that I have it close to me. Usually the satellite internet is pretty reliable. Sometimes there's some tech glitches and bumps, but for the most part it's pretty good. That's my first point that I wanted to chat about. The second point that I'd like to discuss in terms of being off-grid while still being online would be the challenge of ordering things online. With the way that everything has gone in the world since March 13th of 2020, it's been a ride. And so what has happened is that we have had to order a lot of things online. Now the difficulty with that is that because we are in a remote location, there's no such thing as next day shipping. There's no such thing as shipping to a PO box. We can ship to a PO box. Unfortunately, they're not really secure or reliable. Amazon is not an option. And unfortunately, there are time limits on a lot of the PO boxes. So that's not really something that we can do unless we go out and actually get a PO box, which is definitely something we're looking at in the future. Shipping costs are also to be anywhere close to us, which is still like a ways away. To be anywhere close to us, the shipping costs are astronomical to be able to ship there. So shipping to some place that is closer to us than 6 hours away is definitely not an option either. So what we have had to do, what we both have had to do, what I particularly have had to do, is to learn to do without. If you don't have something, you'd better be inventive. The best example I can think of for this particular purpose would be kitchen tools. So usually when you have a kitchen, you have all of these different spatulas, you have all of these different cutters, you have all these different knives, you have all of these different accessories that are available to you right there. And if you don't have something, you could always order it and get it next day or in a couple days. It's not really a big deal. Here, that's not an option. So we have learned to improvise with the utensils that we do have and with the things that we do have. Everything here in our off-grid home, as I'm looking around here, has a dual purpose. There's nothing here that just has one purpose and one purpose only. Everything has more than one purpose. It serves more than one use, which, if you think about it, is a really good way to live your life just in general. As a side note, something to be said there's something to be said for the state of society when it's an inconvenience to not have next day shipping. When we first moved here, it wasn't too big of a deal. I understood, like we're gonna have to wait for things to come in, etc. So I have that mentality. Andre does as well. Unfortunately, not everybody does, and I know that a lot of people wouldn't be okay if they had to wait 3 to 4 weeks for the things to come in. For us, we've just learned that that's something we're going to have to deal with, and that was something that we were prepared for when we first moved off-grid. We knew that was something we were going to have to happen. The third point that I'd like to touch on would be the internet usage itself. So unlike in the city where most companies will offer you, or even in rural areas where most companies will offer you an unlimited package, for the data that you're using. Out in remote areas, it does cost a whole lot. Satellite is a lot more expensive than your regular 4G or 5G internet, and because of that, internet companies that serve remote areas will put cap limits on how many gigabytes you're allowed to use and how much data you're allowed to use per month. So what we have done in order to combat this, usually we've been very aware of what we are using and how much we are downloading and how often we are on the internet. For the most part, we use internet strictly for business purposes. Once in a while, we'll watch a movie or something like that, and we'll use Netflix or whatever. It's not too big of a difference because we're not really on the internet a whole lot anyways. But it is something that we definitely are much more conscious of now that we've actually taken this on and we've been here. One more thing to be said for that would be that we will usually, if it's possible, we will download things. So rather than streaming videos all the time, say it's like music videos or whatever, rather than streaming them, we will download things and make sure that we have them on our computer so that we can have them there. It's a short-term loss because we are eating up that data, that gigabyte space as we're downloading, but it's a long-term gain because eventually we wouldn't have to use any sort of download speed because we would have everything ideally on our computers or on our tablets. So my fourth point is something a little bit on the personal side. For myself, I find new things, especially when it's a lot of new things at once, to be quite challenging when I'm trying to learn new things. So for me, the contrast between living in an off-grid home and running an online business, for myself, it's just been quite different and a little bit difficult to get used to in terms of what the home requires to maintain it and in terms of still being able to run my business effectively. I find it a huge contrast. It's a little bit mentally difficult just to wrap my head around. It's been a little bit of a learning curve to be able to do both at once because at times it feels like I'm experiencing two worlds. It's almost as if I'm in, the 1950s, if you want to call it that. Taking a step back in time to being where we are and how we live our life day to day, and then also still running my business and being in the modern tech world. It's very juxtaposing. It's very oppositionary, and it's quite a contrast. And sometimes it's a little bit mentally difficult to wrap my head around. But as I tell my students all the time, practice makes progress. It will get better, and I am getting there slowly but surely. And one day, hopefully soon, it's not going to be too much of a difficult job for me to be able to do that. That's all for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate the views. Leave a like or a comment down below if you've got any questions or suggestions or anything that you would like to see. Maybe there's something I forgot and you'd like to know something else. And I'll chat to you guys soon.